Hey everybody, how's it going? Hey Sayla, I'll drop the link for you. There we go. Hey Cool Gamer. Hey Marie. Hey Dad. Good to see you guys. I took a time out yesterday. No videos. Seem to be doing that a lot lately. I don't mean to. It's just if I'm not in the right headspace, I just don't want to be on here. Hey Crystal. Hey SD. I did watch some of it and then I listened to the rest. I made another video on KJ. This one wasn't too bad. I didn't get that much mad. I think because I had an overabundance of crystals in my bra and in my hand, so I was okay.
Hey.
Hi.
I was sitting like a dumb A back there, didn't even put enter studio, and I'm just sitting
here. It's okay. I'm a friggin' moron. I just had the book and I don't know what I did with it. Oh, it must be in the kitchen. I went to get a drink.
I'm glad I'm not the only one doing stuff tonight like that.
There, I found it. I've been tired all day. I haven't slept like for almost 2 days straight. Only like an hour or so here and then like a couple hours there. I'm just exhausted.
Ooh, that sucks.
Yeah, it's weird. I get that sometimes though. I don't have insomnia all the time, but there's times where I can literally lay in my bed for hours with my eyes closed and I will not go to sleep. So I won't even attempt that. If I'm not tired, I'm not going to try and force myself because then I just get bitchy and grumpy and
it's the worst. It's like your body gets tense, almost so tense when you try to go to sleep and you don't, you know what I'm saying, and you can't.
Oh, I hate it because like I know I'm tired. It's like, okay, why can't I sleep? And I do have sleeping pills. I take trazodone, but sometimes they don't work.
Mm-hmm.
Like a lot of the time they do, but there's just those days sometimes it just doesn't.
I take Ambien sometimes. I have to because your body, if you go for days without sleep, your body will react in a bad way.
Oh, I wouldn't doubt it. No, I'm tired. I was up again last night. My son's like, did you not sleep again? I was like, no, not really. And it's because I keep having nightmares. I find when the nightmares start, which is a lot of the time, then I don't know, my brain won't let me go to bed or something.
That is, this time of the year, that happens a lot, I think.
Oh, I just want the nightmares to go away. They won't though.
Well, they will. I'll pray for you whenever I get off here. I'll pray that you sleep peacefully and the nightmares will go away.
I hope so. I don't know what's going on with me, but it's not healthy. I'm not me. I'm tired.
No, that's not healthy at all. You got to sleep.
Yeah, I know. Hey, Teresa.
Well, maybe we could do it short tonight, and you could try to, get off here and rest. Take a break.
I don't know. I don't get it. Hey, Chronic.
Hey, Teresa. I don't know how to say. Do you know how to say that name, Nikki? That A.
No, I'm not even trying.
I've done it before, I know, but I'm like, I don't know if I'm saying it nice, but like Aesop.
I think that's it. Yeah, her name is Crystal though. That's why whenever you say Crystal, because I'm not going to attempt it.
Thank you for letting me know that. Because every time I say anything to her, I'm like, I hope I'm saying
inspiration.
Right.
Oh, I know her as Crystals, which is
okay. Crystal. I'm going to start calling her Crystal.
Yeah, because Deb's the only one that can say her name. I can't.
I can't either.
I'm just like, okay, yeah, I know who that is. I'm not gonna bother. I'll just screw it up. All right, where do
she said Aesop. Okay.
Aesops? Yeah, like the AY is like an I for me.
Like
Aesops.
Like a psyop, but backwards.
What the hell does that even mean? What the
I
hell?
don't know.
I'm not trying to be rude, but what the frig is an
How
Aesop?
did you get that name?
Yeah, really. How'd you get that? And Deb, how the hell do you know how to say it? Like, what does that even mean?
Well, obviously it means something. She knows.
Oh, is it a book? Maybe. She said this
It,
might be a book.
oh, inspirational book.
Hey, Melanie.
Well, dang, I need to look into that book. If it's a book, find out what it means.
Yeah, because I have no clue. I'm glad I'm not the only one. Hard like
Ah,
it.
yes, 420 always.
Aesop's Fables, Heard Like an Airplane. Huh.
That's interesting. Kind of like what are those called? The Grimm's Tales or whatever. The Grimm's Fairy Tales. You know what I mean?
No, I've
Like,
never heard of Aesop's Fable. That's what she's referring to. It's a philosopher who wrote fables. Oh, okay.
let's see. I'm wondering what. And now I'm interested. I'll have to go look into that later.
Yeah.
I feel stupid. I feel so stupid.
No, don't.
I've never even heard of it.
I didn't hear of it either. I always if I can't say something, you'll notice I'll somehow work my way around it. I won't. I won't. I had somebody
That's smart.
that used their name because they couldn't say it.
Actually, that's smart.
Here, I'll change your name. Like, say if I couldn't pronounce Bennett, I'd be like, "Hey, Marie, hi, Marie," or I could only pronounce
Hey,
Bennett.
B.
Hey,
Okay,
B.
B.
Like that one, that LVO whatever MAGE. I'm like, hey. I'm like, okay. How the hell do I call you? Love 8 what? I'm like, hey, what is it? I think she said Madge. Madge? Madge.
Madge is easier.
I'm just gonna go with LV.
Yeah, you're right. Okay, you did.
I always pick something. I always do that. I'll pick the word I do know. I'll be like, oh, hey.
That's the safest way to go.
Yeah. It was funny though. One of my subs did have to change their name because I couldn't freaking pick it. I couldn't say it. And I was like, I'm sorry, I can't. And then they came in. I'm like, well, who's that? Welcome. They're like, it's me. It's so and so. I'm like, oh, thank God you changed your name.
Oh, that's how you say it.
Yeah. Oh,
that's funny. Oh, that was his name was a philosopher who wrote. It says Aesop was a philosopher who wrote fables.
Oh.
The Brothers Grimm, Snow White. See, that's what I knew of.
Oh, I didn't know.
Grimm.
That.
I knew about the Grimm fairy tales. That's where all of our fairy tales come from, like Cinderella, Hansel and Gretel. All the ones that everybody knows, those are actually scary.
Yeah,
I was turn around.
You guys, if you were interested, I have a book on fairy tales, and I bought it for my son when he was a baby. I would never, ever, ever in my life try and read another one to him again, even right now.
No,
they are so scary. It's like a horror movie. I didn't know they were like that. They must take out the bad parts.
They do. They turned it around and made it real sweet for the children. When you go back and look, they're not sweet at all.
No, and I've got a whole book on them. So I was just going to record myself reading and put a couple out every day, just in case, like, you know, I like listening to things.
Mm-hmm.
Whenever I'm cleaning or even in the shower, I'll have, have my phone.
Something going.
Yeah, something going. Like
that would be a good idea.
Yeah.
Especially in October, like right now, leading up to like, well, I don't know how long now. It's not much longer now, but.
No. I'm still going to do it anyways. I like
Yeah.
Yeah, those tales are, the fables were little tales that taught life lessons.
Oh
yeah, did they ever? They gave me nightmares one time. Holy shit. But I was with my son's father. I said, I'm not reading this to him. I said, I started. And I said, I stopped. I said, I know he's just a baby, but holy shit.
Like, that's much, I think.
I'm scared. I'm not reading that. He's like, nice effing fairy tales. I'm like, this is how they are. This is how they are. I said, hey, it's not so sweet. And I said, like, this is.
No. You might as well prop him up in his little chair and let him watch Texas Chainsaw Massacre.
Exactly. Oh my God. Exactly. Yeah. Might as well. That was a lot more than a kiss that woke fucking Snow White up.
Snow White. Oh, yeah. I couldn't believe it. Horrible.
Horrible. Yeah, it was a lot more than a kiss that woke fucking Snow White up.
Oh, yeah.
I couldn't believe it. Horrible. like putting kids in the oven and actually eating the oh
Yeah, well, that's Hansel and Gretel. Like
uh,
that's the she fattened the kids up so that she could cannibal them.
right.
Yeah,
But when you're a
that's
kid and you make that or have that movie or the fairy tale, it wasn't like no, I don't know where I
no.
found this book at a place called Home Sense. It's a beautiful hardcover book. It's got velvet on the front. It's got a nice, beautiful burgundy ribbon. It
Ooh,
was gorgeous, and I wanted it as a keepsake
I bet
for a
it's worth
memory.
money.
Yeah, like for me and my son. So, like I said,
Well, that's
I
a little
kept
later
reading.
memories.
Oh my god, I tried reading them like a little bit at a time. I'm like, I can't read this shit. Like I know he's a baby, but still,
Yeah, I think I'd wait until he was older to
he won't read it now.
share those memories.
He won't even read it now. I asked him. He goes, nope.
Well, maybe he'll be when he's 20. He'll be ready.
I don't know. I'm 38 and I'm still not ready, but hey. I mean, even like Aladdin is horrible. Like all
I
these stories
know.
are freaking bad. I still can't believe it. I only read bits and pieces because I can't get so far because I'm just in awe. I'm like, I'm not reading this shit, especially at nighttime. No.
Well, the ones I have heard and know about, it's like, what the f? I mean, like, who gave
And
people
Humpty
the
Dumpty
idea to
is
write
one scary son of a bitch. That Humpty Dumpty. I'm telling you.
this?
I
I
don't
hadn't
like
heard
it.
that one. I hadn't heard that one, so I hope you read that one. It's one of the first
Oh,
ones. I hadn't heard that one. But they
oh.
all come from that. They all come from something like
Yeah,
that
it's just
originally.
wow. What'd you watch? I binged. Sure. Yeah, they aren't stories for the weak of heart. Hell no. Tracy's like, I binge watched the fourth season of Virgin River on Netflix yesterday. It is a romantic drama. Oh, I figured. Yeah, of course you'd
Oh,
love
I
it.
hadn't seen that.
Me neither. She'd love it though. There's nothing scary. Yet here she
America
is.
Horror Story started. I watched that. I started watching that too. It's been on. It's the second
Is it
one just came
good?
on. It's different.
Yeah. Somebody told me it was like, like
It's okay.
me. I'm a huge fan, but even Dragon Mama, she loves watching it. And she's like, I don't really like this one.
Yeah, it's not the best.
No way.
It's a little weird. I mean, they're all weird, but I mean, this is on the not the. It's not the good creepy. You know what I'm saying? I mean, that's weird to
Yeah.
say, but you know what I'm saying. It makes you feel kind of yuck,
Yeah.
like kind of cringy watching it.
Yeah, I agree. Well, actually, no, I can't agree because I haven't seen it yet. On Netflix.
well, well, when you see it, you'll know why.
Yeah. I watched the mini series they have that comes out like the episode once a week, American Horror Stories. Have you ever seen that?
Yeah,
I
I
watched
watched one or two
that.
of those.
I watched all the first and the second season.
Oh, I hadn't gotten that far.
That's as far as I guess I can get, but
I
that
watched this
Dollhouse
one.
one was weird.
I got caught on this one show called The Devil in Ohio,
Okay.
and I think it's on Hulu though. But it's about a cult. It's like people think they're Amish, but they're really they worship Lucifer, and then they have like they raise a lot of these children, and then it's like actually realistic. That's why
Yeah,
I liked it.
I was told. Yeah, somebody else told me that there was something like that on Hulu, and I need to get into it, and I need to watch it. And I'm like,
I
okay.
watched the whole thing. I like binge watched it in like a day and a half.
Well, because I haven't really been feeling myself, I've been kind of, I don't know, just down. You know what I've been watching the first time in my whole life? I've been watching The Real Housewives of Beverly Hills. Oh my
I love
God.
that.
I love it. I'm obsessed, and I want those women's lives.
I know. I used to watch that all the
Oh,
time. I
I am
watched it this
so
last
jealous.
season, and I love the New Jersey one too. I love that one.
I'm
I
just
love
on
the way they
season
fought.
2 right now. I'm on season 2 right now. So there's still, Camille, and then there's Kim and
Oh,
Kyle.
you got the old
Yes.
cast. I think Kyle is the only one left from the old cast.
Yeah, it looks like it. I checked on it. Yeah. So I'm on season 2. But yeah, that's just like seriously, I need to find a guy who works a lot, but that's really rich. And because I just don't want to be a
Give you
no-show.
that
He can find a guy
lifestyle.
who gets me, who works a lot. Like say he only comes home on weekends. That would be good enough a boyfriend for
Maybe
me.
like a Mauricio, but faithful.
Yes. Yes, exactly like him. Yeah, I love the way he
He's
takes
handsome.
care of his wife. Oh my God.
He's
And the
very
children.
handsome.
He is very handsome. Like I'd love to have a guy like something like that. Well, not love, but if I ever met someone, they're gonna have to know how I am, which is I'm weird. I want you, then I don't. So,
Well,
I
maybe
don't
he'll
know.
play a little
Yeah,
game with you, like he doesn't want you for a while, and then you want him.
and yeah, oh, I will. I'll start chasing them.
You're right. That's the game. We'll call
Oh
it hide and seek.
yeah, yeah,
Teresa
really.
says she likes New Jersey. I like New Jersey too. I
I need to
love to
watch
watch
that
New
one.
Jersey Housewives. I love Teresa.
There's the New York one too, isn't there?
Yeah, I think there is a New York one. I didn't like
And then
that one because that Bethany girl got on my nerves.
there's one. I think it's Dubai. Oh my god, I never seen it, but the women are gorgeous.
Ooh, and they
Wow,
are rich too. Ooh, talk
they
about
are
money.
beautiful. I've never seen anyone
Well,
so
they're
pretty.
gorgeous. They can afford to be gorgeous because if they don't come out that way, they make it that way
Oh yeah.
after they got the money.
Oh yeah. Well, the one thing that broke my heart though was when Mauricio's mom went and got plastic surgery.
Oh, I
He
know that was a
filed.
bad.
That made me tear up because like you don't want to see
She
her like that.
no, she had a bad job. You would have think she would have gone to somebody like that they would have recommended instead of some, you know.
Well, at her age too, like I understand what they were doing, but that really
It's a little much for her at that age, probably to
that's what I
handle.
thought. And even when Kyle seen her own son was okay, but when Kyle seen her, she couldn't even look at her. She had to leave. She was crying so hard. I was
Yeah,
just like, yeah. It's like I used to hate Camille because in the first season she was a
I
little.
mean, yeah.
I hated her. I
I
did,
feel
and then
so sorry then after like that jerk of a husband, Frazier. And I loved Frazier.
yeah.
I loved watching that show. And then after
Oh
that, I was
fuck
like,
him. He's
"You
done. He's
jerk!
gotten.
I hate to watch you now. I won't watch
I don't
Frazier
like.
for shit."
Nope. I'm boycotting. I don't like that son of a
Yeah,
bitch. What he did to her, which is
I
what
know
many men do in that lifestyle. They trade them in for younger models. It's fucking
yeah,
gross.
it is.
So
It makes me sick.
it is gross. And then the same thing happened to Taylor. What happened to Taylor's story?
Oh
Oh
yeah.
God. So her husband didn't cheat. He was controlling. It was an abusive relationship. And when we finally figured it out by the next episode,
Hmm.
he had committed, he unalived
He
himself.
offed it. Yeah,
Yeah, by hanging.
yeah.
I just
I
like,
felt bad for her for that because I know she was going through a hard time,
and I
and
know
I
she
know it
loved
was an abusive relationship, but she did love him. And
she did
imagine
love
that for
him.
your daughter, her daughter, their daughter.
And she did love him despite, but
Yeah,
I knew what he was. I knew it because
I
I've
could
been
see
with a
it.
guy like that. I could see it in his fucking
Yeah,
eyeball. And
he
the
was a
way he told her
narcissistic
it's
ass.
time to go, it's time to go. And she's like, but she was so she was too, how do you say it? Like
She was
too
almost like she was
robotic.
brainwashed or something
Yes.
like
Yeah.
you know what they call it, like Munchausen? No, not that. They call it when you fall
Oh,
in love with your captor. You know what I'm talking about?
yes.
Like
Yeah, I know
um
what you mean. I
mm,
can't think of it either.
but you know what I mean? Like that's what I felt like. But I felt like I was scared for her. Like I
So was
thought
I.
something might happen to her.
So did I.
Like
I thought for sure when they broke it off, I seriously thought he was going to unalive her
I did too.
and the daughter. I did, and then when I find out that they broke up and a month later he did that, I was kind of relieved because
Well,
I was
I was too, and I feel bad about that. But I was thankful that at least she and the baby was alive because I thought if he was so narcissistic and he did
yeah.
it to himself, he was going to take them out with him.
Oh yeah,
That's what
because
I thought.
you can't have them. No one can. That's
Right,
what he did.
exactly.
Yeah. That's what I was scared of.
Yeah, so thankful they're alive.
Well, good. Now I've got someone to talk to housewives with.
Yes,
And
we
hey,
have a whole night of housewives.
yeah, and it's not scary, and it's just a lifestyle I wish I could have, but you know,
Oh,
yeah,
you got to watch that in New Jersey though, because Teresa
yeah.
Giudice, the Italian, the hot Italians, and boy, they're still getting so fighting, and Teresa will flip that table.
Oh,
you know,
flipping table.
yeah, they're flipping tables. That's what they call it. They get so mad, and they'll like just do their hands up and flip the table and cuss
Yeah.
everybody out of the table.
Oh my god! I'll tell you one person I never cared for though was Kyle's sister Kim. I don't like her.
Oh
I know
yeah.
she's got issues and everything, but I don't know what it is. I just don't like her. I probably will like her. I don't know if she's in the third season or not. I don't know.
Yeah, later on you
That's
kind of
right.
learn to love her because she finds herself
Okay.
later. Yeah.
Okay, good. Because that's what happened with Camille. Camille, I wanted to punch in the face.
Yeah, I couldn't stand her first season. I was like ready to go to Hollywood myself and like dagger her in the eyes.
Right? And then, you know what's weird though? Camille acted like in the first season. So Camille was so horrid and everything else, but now we know why, because the same thing happened
Yep.
to Taylor and both their husbands was the
They were
reason.
going through so much crap and they
Yeah.
didn't want anybody to know. They were embarrassed because
Exactly.
in that lifestyle you've got to keep that stuff quiet. Like
Yes.
you can't let people know what's going on because it's all about image, and what they did to her, same thing they do to everybody else. They shun you. When you
Yeah,
divorce your
exactly.
famous husband, if he's more famous, they shun you.
Yeah, that's crazy.
Yeah,
Wow. Did
that's
it ever come out though who was talking about Taylor's marriage?
it was Brandy Glanville, I believe, started it.
She was going, "Oh shit, really?" See,
Uh huh.
I thought maybe Lisa, but then I thought because she doesn't like, well, didn't like Taylor, and she was,
Lisa, Lisa's pretty. Mm, even though she can be a bitch,
oh, I
she's
like
pretty
her.
ethical. I like Lisa a lot.
Me too. She's
She
fun.
really like. Oh, and she mothers a lot of those girls.
She does. Because
Yeah.
remember, she didn't like Taylor when Taylor finally said her piece. That's when things changed like that, and she was like Mama Bear, and she did.
Yep.
She took her under her wing and everything, which made me feel
Yep.
so much better for Taylor. Um, you were thinking about watching what?
What's she?
Oh, The Watcher. Yeah, that's another good one.
Oh, I thought about it. I pulled it up last night, and I was considering it actually,
Oh, I gotta watch these Housewife
and I
girls.
ended up going with the American Horror Story.
Oh, I love that show. Okay, I'm gonna shut up because I'll be on here all night talking.
I know we're sitting here gossiping.
And then I'll be sitting here talking about, hey, do you know any I don't know, like looking guys that work a lot?
Oh yeah, you need to look on my channel because I uploaded my son, the one that's the fisherman, and he's stationed up there in Rhode Island now.
Oh my gosh.
And he's he's 31, but he actually sings. And I downloaded a song that he did a cover.
Yeah, I've seen the okay, I seen that you did that. I got a notification. I just haven't checked it out yet.
Yeah, that's my son. That's what I was telling you about. So check him out. And he's cute.
Aw, probably. All right, I'm on the politics part still.
Oh yeah.
Okay, so Rebecca had always wanted to have two kids, not so close together that she'd be tearing her hair out, but far enough apart so that she could enjoy each one separately. Just before Adam died, she and I had decided that we were ready again. Adam was going to be in second grade, and it seemed like the right time. Back then, we figured that the baby would just kind of come along when it did. But now, things were different. Now we didn't want to wait. And then around Thanksgiving, about 4 months after Adam died, we found out that Rebecca was pregnant. Are you serious? That's not a good idea.
That was with Megan.
Was not a good idea. I wouldn't think at that point in time, but okay. After Adam died, we understood that he wasn't coming back, and we never made his room into a shrine. Still, Rebecca didn't want to use his room for the nursery, so she set it up in the middle bedroom instead. All of her buddies gave her a baby shower at her friend Nancy Zakor's house, and they all had a great time picking through all the presents and doing girl stuff. The next day, they got the nursery all set up, and when they finished, everybody just stood around looking at Rebecca like, well, kid, now the ball's in your court. On the night of July 15th, 1982, when she was 8 months pregnant, I took Rebecca to her first Lamaze class. The teacher told us all to sit on the floor to practice breathing. But Rebecca couldn't seem to sit on the floor. She kept saying how weird she felt. During the break, she told the instructor about it, and the woman told her that she was having false labor. And that's what she kept telling herself all night while she was tossing and turning in bed. What the hell is going on? I said. You got ants in your pants or something?
No, you've been in my pants.
What the hell? You got ants or something? Yeah.
I mean, oh God. What an idiot.
Rebecca says that everyone that each baby is different, but she knew this was a little too different. What the hell am I doing? She finally said. I'm in labor here, and there isn't anything false about it.
She's like, this is the real deal. I gotta go.
Yeah. Fortunately, the hospital wasn't far away. This time, I was there in the delivery room, and my feelings about it have not changed. If men gave birth, the species would have died out on the first generation.
I've said that a long time.
Oh, yeah. I don't care if you're Pope John Paul. At a time like this, you're shrinking to the back of the room, and like every other male in the world, only saying only one thing to yourself. I'm glad it's not me.
Oh, God. At least he's honest about one thing.
Yeah. I was there with the ice chips, checking Rebecca's breathing, holding her hands. For a while, everything was okay, but then pretty soon, Rebecca started screaming in horrible pain, and I was at the other side of the room thinking, this Lamaze stuff is just a cult. If I went over there with some ice chips right now, she'd take one look at me and say, you get those goddamn ice chips out of here.
Give me a damn epidural.
Oh, yeah. So Reve was screaming, the doctor was shouting, push, and I was basically cowering on the side. And then the most amazing thing happened. Megan popped out. The delivery was wonderful, unbelievable. She looked like such a little girl. She was a whole new person, and she was like nothing we'd ever known. We didn't compare. There was no reason to. We looked at her and felt nothing but joy. Reve was so ecstatic. Everyone was rolling out the red carpets, real hometown stuff. The radiator, the countertops, every rolling food cart was covered with flower arrangements and mylar balloons. You couldn't see the walls for all the flowers. Reve started setting them down to the kids' wing because no one could get into the room. Reporters came in to interview her and wrote things like, speaking from her hospital room, Reve Walsh, with her brightly painted toenails sticking out from under her feet. How the fuck did you get them toes done? I couldn't move. Holy.
Look, you're gonna paint these toes. You got it. She couldn't paint them at that point.
Yeah, exactly.
She had to go get those babies done at the salon. I don't think John would have painted them. He just doesn't seem the type.
No, I don't think so. Reporters came in. It was as if the whole country were celebrating our happiness. Letters poured in from people who wanted pictures of the baby, who were so glad to know that Reve and I were still together. It was like Adam's sister had been born. That's exactly what it was like. It was as if everything was finally okay again, and everybody needed to know that, not just us. I think the greatest blessing was that she wasn't a little boy. Of course, we would have loved that child too, but people would have said, "Oh, you have another son. Now it's okay," and that would not have been true. Instead, by the grace of God, yeah, me too. Instead, by the grace of God, she was a beautiful, beautiful little girl. I remember standing there in the delivery room, thinking, now we'll be able to take a baby in our bed again and cuddle her. I can tell bedtime stories again. It was like a miracle. After losing Adam, everything had been so tough. For what seemed like forever, I hadn't smiled or cracked a joke. There was nothing to smile about. But now that Megan was born for the first time since losing Adam, we began to think, maybe we aren't going to die after all. Maybe we are going to survive. Having Megan was what saved our lives. And then for Reve came the hard part, leaving the hospital. She was terrified. She was so terrified to put Megan in the car and take her home. She remembers being wheeled out of the hospital and thinking that something could happen to Megan. And that when she leaned down to strap the baby into her car seat, she said, "Well, here we go, baby girl. Good luck, Megan. I hope we make it." Oh. Crossing your fingers and saying, "Hope, hope, hope." Wow.
That's kind of sad if you think about it. Like, if she didn't have anything to do with, you know what I'm saying? Like, how that would be feeling for her. That would be scary, I would think.
Well, where's her husband? I'm wondering.
I don't know. He seems to not be around that much with her. But another thing is for her, you were talking about them having a baby kind of soon like that. I can kind of see that, though. Imagine, like, being taken care of a baby all the time. And I know it would be hard, but, like, I think I would have probably done the same thing. I'm not even going to lie. I probably would have.
Like, at first, maybe not. Like I said, I know this isn't the same, but it kind of is. Like, with a cat, I remember I lost my baby, my little Mo, and I just lost it. I was pregnant with my son, and so I was hysterical. And then after a while, I did get another one. And I felt so much better. But then I couldn't for a long time.
Well, I know.
Yeah, but then, I don't know. Then I did. I got one.
But I think it does help, like, after you're able to go through that process, if they were able to go ahead and move on listen, I don't care about John. I'm sorry. I just don't care about John Walsh at this point. With Reve, I feel like she's been more of a, like a victim herself to, you know what I'm saying? Yep. Almost up to this point, but now she knows, but she should do better now that she knows better. But what I'm saying is back then, I can picture, you know what I'm saying, if my kid was gone, and probably the guilt that she felt for leaving him there as long as she did, and then losing him, and she's probably horrified. You know how you have those dreams when you're pregnant, like you leave your child somewhere random, like at the mall, or, just all these crazy things. You're holding your kid and they turn into a cat or something, like weird things like that. You just think of the worst possible, but see, she'd already lived through the worst possible if that had happened. So think about it. That would be hard.
Yeah, I think so too. Yeah, it says then after we got home, Reve never took her hands off the baby. Not out of fear, but because we just could not get over the wonder of her. Megan was with us day and night, and when Reve was sleeping, I would get up and take her out of her bassinet and bring her into our bed. Shouldn't do that.
Mm-hmm.
Never, never. I remember, I was remember reading an article or something, a news clipping, and this woman was overweight. She just had a baby and laid her beside her, and sure enough, she rolled on the baby and she killed her own baby. Did you ever hear about that?
No, actually, I have a friend that happened to. Well,
Oh,
her daughter was letting her sister watch the baby, and it was on a waterbed. Her
yeah.
sister went to sleep, and the baby was not old. Wasn't old enough to turn over by itself yet. It was only
Yep.
like a month old or something, and it
Yeah.
suffocated in the waterbed with its face down.
That's
So, like,
bad.
oh, that scares me. But I
Yeah.
have co-slept with a couple of my kids, like when they were younger. I just didn't know any better, and I just when I was
Yeah.
breastfeeding, it was just easier to plop my boob out right there in the bed. Whenever they woke up, I'm not gonna lie. When you've gone without 3 or 4 days of sleep,
Yeah, exactly. Like
So
I
I'm
know
not
you're
gonna lie.
I
Say I didn't,
done that
but
too. Like what I would do is I prop up two big pillows and put my son in the middle.
in
And
between
then
them,
when he's
yeah,
yeah, that way
like a
I can't put
co-sleeper,
on him or
like
anything, and he can't.
yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah, I was always so afraid that I would roll over on her, the baby, that I would not really get much sleep, but it was a little bit of sleep, at least more than I was getting before.
yeah,
So it was kind of like, you know, I really couldn't sleep all the way because I didn't want to roll over on them. So I would put something between me, like where my belly was, so I couldn't roll over.
yeah. Same. I remember. I don't know where I heard that story from, but she was a bigger girl, and her baby was like a month or two old, maybe even 3 months. Something. The baby couldn't turn over, and sure enough, she was a big girl, and she rolled on her baby, and I just couldn't imagine. Obviously, it wasn't intended. This girl was so distraught.
Oh Lord, that's horrible.
Yeah. I don't know where I heard that from.
Well, these days, thank goodness, they make co-sleepers that you can actually hook to the side of your bed
Yeah,
and
that's
just
perfect.
put your baby right there. So actually, like I really think those are good ideas because it is
Yeah.
hard when you're home and with a new baby and you're up constantly, especially if they
Well,
have a problem.
yeah. Well, my son was up every 2 hours. So for me to
Yeah,
get up, go make the bottle, and then feed him, by the time he fell asleep, then I got back to sleep, he'd be up again. Oh,
right.
I
And
never
you
slept.
have to get sleep. You have to,
Yeah.
or
I
you'll
didn't
go
get,
crazy.
well, that's the thing. I don't understand why I was the only one that had to look after him when his dad didn't work and lived with me. It was bullshit.
Yeah,
I never had help, and I'm thinking, you son of a bitch. No,
it
if
makes
you're
you so mad at them. I
yeah,
mean, like so. That's the way my first husband was. He didn't do nothing. And when I
yeah.
say nothing, I had to find him in a bar when I was in labor with my third one.
Oh
And
my
I had
god.
3 kids in 3 years. I got married to him at 17 like an idiot and was
Yeah.
pregnant. And then I've told you about that. But the thing is, this is so funny. Like I kept kicking him in the head whenever I was in labor the last time. When he had
Yeah.
to fall asleep and start snoring, I'd kick him in the head. And I was like, how dare you sleep with liquor all over you? I can smell it over here in labor. And I
Yeah.
just kept kicking him. And I actually left him right after that. The baby was 6 months old.
Oh,
I had 3 kids and was 20, and I was like, deuces.
yep. See ya. I don't blame you.
Men are assholes, but you know what? I've had a great when the last my baby that I had last time. I married my high school best friend after I
Oh,
got my first divorce. He was in my first wedding and caught the garter off my leg just for a cool little fun fact. But the cool thing is he was the best dad. When I had that baby, he like stayed up with me the whole time I was in labor, rubbed my back, massaged my feet, anything that I asked him to
oh
do, he
wow.
was Johnny on the spot. Like I didn't know how to act. Like usually I was toughing it by myself in there.
Oh
And
yeah.
like in my epidural, it didn't work, so I had no epidural or anything, and I was having Pitocin because I was having to be induced because my blood pressure was so high. But bless his heart, he did not go to sleep for 24 hours straight. Then when that
Wow.
baby came out, he was down there just waiting. And he like almost caught herself. His head was down there so far. I was like, bro, back off for a while. But he was like, and then he got the baby and he was holding her, and he almost ran out the door with her to show her everybody in the lobby. They were like,
Oh.
come back. But let me tell you, that man, I would pump out, and he
Yep.
would literally like hold her at night, sit up in the chair with
Oh
the
my
Chase Lounge
god.
and hold her in his arms, like for me to sleep, like to
That
get
is
a good
amazing.
full night's sleep. So there
Yeah,
are
I
good
need a
men out
man like
there. They're out there. Don't give up.
that.
And he's still a fantastic daddy, and she
That's
is a
awesome.
daddy's girl.
Good. I'm
So
glad to hear
have
that.
hope.
I would get up and take her out of her bassinet and bring her into our bed. We knew this little girl should not have to live in Adam's shadow, in the sadness, but sometimes it was hard to prevent that. It wasn't until later that it finally happened. We were at the opening of the Paradise Grand in the Bahamas, and a woman came over to Reve to admire Megan in her stroller. She said, "What a gorgeous little girl. How many children do you have?" Reve started to stammer, trying to get something out. She doesn't remember if she said two, but one died, or I had two, but one was murdered. She finally just fell to pieces in front of that poor woman who had no idea what she had asked. 2 months later, on Monday, September 20th, 1982, House of Representatives approved a vision of the Missing Children Act. 4 days later, the Senate followed suit. The only thing left was for the bill to go to what's called a conference committee, where the final differences between the two versions are hammered out. Ordinarily, those meetings are closed, but we got in and saw a real fight. Politics is usually the most boring, tedious process, but this meeting was different. Henry Hyde, the Republican congressman from Illinois, was there, gracious and courtly and white-haired, joining forces with little Paul Simon, the earnest Democrat from Illinois with his horn-rimmed glasses, bow tie. Sorry, it was like the same thing. Strong.
I've never even heard of him.
No, me neither. Strong was throwing his 2 cents in. Don Edwards was still agreeing against the bill and arguing against the bill. And at one point, Arlene Specter, the Republican senator for Pennsylvania, leaned across the table and said with such conviction, "Don, for the life of me, I cannot understand why you're opposed to this." Paula Hawkins, the lone woman among all these men, were more responsible than anyone else for getting these bills through, who had actually got the head of the FBI out of his swimming pool one night to lobby him, was right up in Edwards' face. It was so passionate, it was great. All these odd bedfellows united in a fight to get the FBI involved on behalf of missing children. When the time finally came to take the vote, I stood there counting under my breath each yeah vote around the table. I was remembering how my father had always said, "I'm training you guys for the fourth quarter. When the other team is as tired as you are, everybody's got bloody noses and broken fingers. But what wins in overtime is guts. Victory belongs to the person who stays calmest and coolest, who hangs in and toughs it out and goes the distance." When the final vote was cast, we knew we had a majority. I held up a fist and pulled my arm down in a victory salute. Yes, I shouted less and shouted loud, yes. Of course, not everyone was as jubilant as we were. Afterward, an FBI official walked up to Jay and shook his hand. "Congratulations, boys," he said with as much sarcasm as possible. "Next year, why don't you try doing something different that might make a difference?" Wow. So what, the FBI doesn't want to get involved with missing children? Are you fucking kidding me?
It's
That's
really
disgusting.
corrupt.
Holy.
The National Center for Exploited Missing Children, do some research on that.
I'm scared too, but I have a feeling I know where it goes. And
get on Twitter on Megan's page, and she's got.
I've been getting. She's been tweeting every day, every single time. I've been reading articles, reading everything she said. Yep. Everything. It just breaks my heart. In October 1982, which is 15 months after we lost Adam, Congress passed the Missing Children Act. By the time it passed, it had gone through a lot of drafts and redrafts, and in the end, it wasn't really earth-shattering. And all it did was set up a separate category for missing children and the unidentified dead within the FBI's existing NCIC's computer base, and to allow parents to enter information about a missing child themselves, if a local police agency refused to. Not much, really, in the grand scheme of things. But to us, it seemed like everything, because when we needed it, it hadn't been there. And now other parents would have something that we had not. The day the bill passed in Congress was unbelievable enough. But the topper was when we heard that the signing ceremony was going to take place in the Rose Garden. One day, we get a call from the White House to let us know. Isn't this just a regular mom and dad? Like, what's with all this press and White House and what the fuck?
That's what Megan's trying to say. There's deeper ties. You know what I'm saying? That she's trying to show that. That's what she's really coming out with. That's why she showed that picture of her with Ronald Reagan holding her, and Bush, which he is a crusty, nasty. Oh my God! I'm exposing some of the stuff y'all can see, but I'm just saying, like those nasty bastards. Yep. Like, people thought they were great, but they are so sick.
Yeah, I agree.
horrible thing to children, like boys escort services running in and out of there through the Franklin cover up. I mean, it was just horrible. Like
Yeah.
young boys, prostitutes, like kids trafficked. Like it's just
Oh,
horrible. And that stuff has gone on and on and on
yeah.
and on. It's not stopped.
No, I agree. It's disgusting. I probably wasn't as excited as most people would be because I was so exhausted from trying to hold down my job and get all this political work done besides. Ray Millette was ecstatic and thrilled, proud to know me, but the other business partners were thinking, oh great, now he's going to Washington. That day, we all got dressed up, even beautiful Megan in her tiny pink sweater, and got in the car and drove to the White House. We went through all the security at the gate, and then they took us into the garden and seated us right in front. Tons of press were there. Reve remembers seeing Sam Donaldson bossing everybody around, and then after everyone was seated, President Reagan came out looking so regal, like such a statement. It was a beautiful sunny day, and Reagan made a speech mentioning John and Reve Walsh of Hollywood, Florida. He even got Reve's name right. He didn't mispronounce it as Reeve or Reva. Afterward, he came up to us and spoke with us and said that Megan had a good Irish name. It was just a glorious day, a special acknowledgement of all of our efforts and pain. Megan was beaming, and all of her friends were there. Jay Howell, Robbie Calloway, Paula Hawkins, Howard Davidson, all the child advocate fighters, a ragtag little army of people who cared. That was the frosting on the cake, the real first moment of the win. And throughout the ceremony, Adam was right there with us. I kept thinking of how proud he must be of all of us, if he and my father too, the two Adams. That's when I realized that a heartbroken couple from Florida with no money and no lobby and no resources and nobody behind them except a bunch of caring, passionate people with no real power and actually helped get a federal bill passed. We
They
weren't
have power.
Yeah.
They definitely have power. None of us would be able to do that, trust me.
No. We weren't General Motors or the NRA, but we had really, really done something, and maybe it could be the beginning of something else. Once, after the bill had passed, Jay asked one of the Don Edwards staffers why the congressman had been so adamantly opposed to it. Because it was sponsored by the other party, the guy said. That's the only reason, for sheer spite. But that was politics. And we got the kind of thing a lot. In a book that she wrote in 1989, Pat Schroeder referred to those early hearings about missing children on Capitol Hill as an example of public hysteria in the making. Whenever something like that was said, I never forgave or forgot. To me, children's issues were not politics as usual. After losing the congressional seat, Harold Washington was elected mayor of Chicago, which is where, in 1984, Jen William Westmoreland and I were given a big citizenship award by the VFW and its national convention. Harold Washington was on the stage that day, and he was supposed to introduce me. I said that I didn't want him to, and when he came up to me and tried to shake my hand, I refused. Fuck him. He voted no on the missing children. I have to agree with him there.
Yeah. Oh gosh, that's funny. You're right. They said somebody in the chat said that the National Center for Exploited Missing Children, whatever, is the only place that they will recall it, report the kids missing to. So it's kind of like sad because they're, it's kind of like they try to pass the buck, to the FBI, then they pass it to that. And it's just sad because the people that are in charge of that, which Megan does expose that a good bit. But, hopefully with all this stuff, with all this exposure, maybe some changes will come. That's what I'm hoping for.
Me too. Me too.
I'm glad you're doing this. I really am.
I really love to talk to her, just even for her to come up. I'll shut up, just let her have it, let her have it. Take the channel, not the channel, take it away.
Take the channel, you can have it.
Say whatever you gotta say, and we'll spread
right. It. Yeah, I reached out and told her that, so I think she will. I think
I don't even want to interview her. Like, I'm not a reporter.
Yeah,
I just want her
just let her speak what she wants to say and say what she has to say.
I might have a question here and there. Maybe you will too, but I'm thinking all three of us will be on panel, but just let her speak.
Yeah, just let her say it.
Yeah, just let her say it. I'm sure she has a lot to say, and that's all I want.
She does.
Yeah.
And like we were talking about the other day, I mean, the more she gets this out there, and she was so thankful that you even offered to do that, that because she was like, I just have to get this, know what I'm saying?
Yes.
Like out. And that also is going to protect her life.
There's somebody I'm actually going to be working, well, sort of am working, well, not sort of, we are working on something. It's taking a long time, but it has to do with something like this. And it's going to fit in perfectly, I think, it's going to be an exposure piece.
Yeah.
I don't want to say
Good.
too much, but it's fucking bad and it's going to be exposed.
Good.
Yes.
Well, I'm
Similar.
behind you all the way. You got my support. I'm pulling for you because this stuff's got to come out. It's like, it sucks.
It does.
You know, it's like having a big boil that you
Yeah.
have to lance and the pus has to come out, but it has to come out to heal. And
It does. I know I don't have a very big channel, but I don't care. I want it out.
look,
And I
you
think it works.
do. You have a platform. Look, if 1 or 2 people even hear it and
Yep.
they tell 10 people a piece, that's 20 people more that didn't know it. But you do. You've got a fairly good amount of followers. And think about just them sharing it with 1 or 2 people a piece even. And vice versa, you know, just going on. And eventually, if enough people will do that,
Yeah.
then these children will stop this is, you know what I'm saying, this will be harder for them to get away with.
Exactly. And that's what I want.
All the way from Canada to the United States and down even in like Mexico. You know, it's horrible. But it's through all these countries right here. I mean, it's like a pipeline almost.
Yeah, it's really sick. It is. I remember, have you ever, what is it? Taken. You ever seen it?
I don't know. Like
his daughter gets taken. She's forced to do sex work, and he actually finds her. There's Taken 1, 2, and 3 for the government. He was like a special spy or something like that. Good with guns and whatnot.
Was it like in the 90s?
No, I think it was. When the hell did this come out?
Or early 2000s?
I don't know. I think late 2000s, maybe even like 2011, 2012. Hey, Benita.
Did they have like? I mean, did they have like a lot of money? Did they have people like watching her, and then like somebody next door to them kidnapped her, or is that a different one?
Her and her best friend. It turns
Okay.
out they went on a trip after they graduated. They went to Paris, I believe it was, and these 2 guys offered these 2 girls a ride in their cabin. They weren't seen or heard from again. So the father, being like some special ops something or whatever, he ended up finding both, and they were so drugged up, made to be sex workers. It was something. I didn't know that stuff happened until I watched that.
That's sad, but it's real.
Yeah, it is real. And when I saw it, I thought, what? Knowing that it was true.
Yeah, and the fact that they take little tiny kids, and do you know they use women and children to lure the girls into it because they trust. They've always been told stranger danger, no men. You know, so they don't expect a woman. Yeah, they don't expect that, and a kid even. Like at that Johnny Gosch, Paul Bonacci said that he actually is the one that lured Johnny Gosch, and he feels bad now and he testified about it. But I'm just saying that's what these people do. They're sick and they get little kids and use them to lure another child because the child's going to trust a child or a woman. That's why you got to teach your children. Look, don't go anywhere with anybody if you don't know them and I haven't given you permission.
Oh, I've been playing that big time in my son. I'm like, you're not going anywhere with people I don't know. Don't ever do it. If someone tells you I'm hurt, don't believe them.
Yeah, don't believe it. That's right. Yeah. We always had a secret password.
Same. I can't remember what ours is now. Yeah. Write it down. I think it was pineapple, something like that.
Ours used to be Nike. I was like,
yeah.
I was like, but I mean, if they don't know that word, you never, ever, ever go with it. And then I would change it if I had to ever use it.
Yep. I agree. I did the same thing. I'm like, there's just the way the world is or has always been. Nope. I don't trust anybody. Not with my boy.
Me neither.
No.
You're a good mom for not.
Yeah. I love my kid. All right. I'm going to try and finish this.
How many more pages we got for this chapter? Because it's all about politics, right?
Oh, it's not too much. Not at all. Okay. Yeah. During the 1981 Louisville conference, one of the people we had met, Carol Fleshman, was a field producer for a documentary maker who was interested in meeting with some parents of murdered children. She had introduced herself and we spent some time talking to her about Adam and what we had been through. Not long after that, the filmmaker herself, Linda Otto, called us up and asked if we minded if a film crew followed us around for a while for a profile that ABC's 2020 wanted to run on us. I didn't think it was a great idea necessarily, but we needed the publicity for the center and the legislation, so we said okay. Over the next year or so, Linda actually ended up spending quite a bit of time with us. She was even in the room during the last crucial conference committee meeting on the children's bill. Later on, she said that at one point she ran out of film but went on pretending to shoot anyways, just to keep the politicians honest. Not long after the Missing Children's Act passed, Linda's 2020 piece ran. It opened up with file footage of the Sears store at the Hollywood Mall during the search for Adam, and with me standing on the hood of the car in the parking lot during those few days, coordinating the search with volunteers. There were clips of the first press conference that Reve and I gave, of us printing Adam's missing posters, and cops walking around on the little wooden dock on Vero on the night that Adam's remains were found. Hugh Downs interviewed me for the show, and he read aloud that the famous FBI quote telling us to go pound salt. Then he asked me why I was doing what I was doing. You don't owe anybody anything, he said. I owe it to the children, I said. I owe it to Adam. After the 2020 segment aired, there was a lot of positive feedback, and Linda, who, as turns out, was a respected documentary filmmaker in her own right, went to her husband, a big-time television producer named Alan Landsberg. Alan, she told him, I've met this Walsh couple, and I don't think I've ever met anybody quite like them. She said that she wanted to do a documentary about her story, and Alan agreed with her. In fact, he said, let's try for a movie of the week. I'd already talked to Linda and Alan and told them that we would do the movie, but I wasn't giving them any information. I figured they could embellish the story and explain it themselves. Reve's initial reaction to this was, oh great, floating heads. Terrorized parents, this is going to be a nightmare. I told her that my strategy was the same as when I was dealing with the press, that if you say no to them, they'll just change the names and write whatever they want to anyway. But if you coordinate or if you cooperate with them, then at least you'll have some control over what they write. What no one seemed to understand was what private people Reve and I really were. We had been forced into the public eye by something completely beyond our control, and had learned that you were crazy to automatically trust people. On top of that, I didn't know anything about Hollywood. I didn't know that Linda's heart was in the right place, and she was so tremendously well-intentioned, and that she would do the movie with such dignity. So I put her through holy hell. In those days, made-for-TV movies were still kind of a novelty, nowhere near as common as they are today. Anyone who signed up to have his or her story told generally got in the neighborhood of $25,000. We were broke, but that wasn't what we were most concerned about. The center, which then was getting some government funding, had lost most of that money in federal budget cutbacks, and we had no idea how we were going to make up the shortfall. So in the end, Alan's production company paid us $100,000, and Daniel J. Travanti, an actor well known for his role as Captain Furlio on NBC's series Hill Street Blues, who was signed on to play me, chipped in $50,000 of his salary. There was a little presentation ceremony, and we were handed a huge oversized check for $150,000 made out to the Adam Walsh Center. I was on the set in Houston when we started filming in June of '83. Dan was playing me, and JoBeth Williams was Reve. It was a pretty emotional experience for everyone. The little boy who played Adam was 5 years old, and I took him swimming in the hotel pool and spent some time with him, but it was hard for me to be around him, especially that first day on the set, because he looked so much like Adam. In the old days, I had earned a good living for my family, and we were always used to living comfortably. Now, we were completely broke. I hadn't been able to buy a present for anybody in such a long time. I'll never forget how, at a time when the subjects of TV movies sometimes didn't get a dime for their stories, Linda arranged to have me hired as a consultant on the movie. It meant so much to me. At the end of the shoot, I took the money, went out, and bought a set of pearls for Reve and little pearl earrings for Megan. After the movie was finished, Linda invited me to go with her to New York to see Grant Tinker, who was then the head of NBC. She said, you've got to go with me, John. They're talking about not letting us show the pictures of missing children at the end of the movie, and if they don't, I'm not going to let them have it. I asked her what she was talking about. No one's ever had interactive television before. There'd never been an 800-number show at the end of a program, and now nobody wants to pay for it. So we went to Manhattan, right into the hollowed halls of 30 Rockefeller Center for the meeting. We waited 20 minutes to get into Tinker's huge office overlooking Manhattan. There sat Mr. Tinker with all of his people, all of these guys in suits. First, one of the lawyers said, well, if we show these missing kids pictures and run an 800 number, then we'll have to do it for Save the Whales people and everybody else. It will set a precedent, and we can't have that.
What? Okay, they're comparing Save the Whales with our children?
Yeah.
I mean,
What?
not that I don't like whales. I love whales, but I'm just saying. I mean, children,
Yeah. What the hell?
human beings. But doesn't he seem to have so much pull? I mean, all these like
Yes.
high-powered people up in NBC, and you know what I'm saying? Like
The
getting
White
on these
House?
shows. Like, I mean, that's just to me a bit odd.
Very.
It almost reminds me. I hate to say this. I hope nobody like looks at me bad for saying it, but like Gabby Petito, like
Yeah.
with her life celebration. Not to take any time, I'm just mentioning this because it really reminds me. They used that to push like the Gabby Petito Foundation, and went on Dr. Phil, and like the parents just seemed like they were almost robotic. You know
Yep.
what I mean? I don't know. It's just a weird feeling I got, and I'm
Same.
sorry if I'm wrong, but it just seems so soon to be thinking of a foundation and things like that. Like if my kid was this, and I just don't know that. I mean, maybe eventually, but not right away.
I agree.
Just weird.
And then one of the marketing guys said, you know, those are precious minutes of advertising time that we're going to waste by showing pictures of missing kids. Wow, you fucker.
Mm. It's almost hard to believe people are like that.
That is disgusting. We could use the airtime to make hundreds of thousands of dollars instead.
Holy crap. Well, that shows you right there what really. Everything goes down to the money.
Wow.
Even little children.
Sorry. Spider.
I was going to say, did you have a bug or you pissed?
Yeah, I was a
I
spider.
was like, is them taking advantage of kids, or she had a bug?
Yeah, it was a bug. I can read it again. And then one of the marketing guys said, you know, those are precious minutes of advertising time that we're going to waste by showing pictures of missing kids. We could use the airtime to make hundreds of thousands of dollars instead. Holy fuck.
Waste.
That is.
Well, it makes me want to find out who that is and go there now and like pull them by their earlobes.
That's crazy. Wow. I was getting angrier and angrier, and Linda was getting more and more furious. Finally, she couldn't take it anymore. Right in front of all those powerful, condescending men, she sat up and said enough. I had no idea what was going to happen, but then, much to my amazement, Grant Tinker agreed with her. That's right, he said. This is bullshit. The parents of these children are desperate, and we're going to show their pictures, and we'll fund the 800 number. I'm not sure how we're going to do it, but we'll figure it out. We'll get the money. We'll staff it. You're lobbying for a law in Washington, aren't you, John? Okay, then we'll have the premiere in Washington, and we'll invite Congress. I almost couldn't believe what I was hearing. It was amazing, but it was true. There were people in the media who had a conscience who were saying, we'll help you, who did care. Yeah, that's what I read.
Wow. Yeah, Deb, we agree with you. Mm.
That is, wow.
Mm. I'm glad they at least put that in the book, too, to out them.
Me too. NBC, that's what it was. NBC. I will never
watch Peacock and shove it up your butt.
Yeah, everybody boycott NBC. Fuck them.
Yep.
No, NBC's bad, and I'll never. Okay. All of a sudden, we were a SWAT team again. Adam had its pre-broadcast premiere at a little movie theater in Washington on October 4th, 1983. Our friends came, senators and congressmen. That was the night that I first met Al Regenary, who headed the Justice Department's Office of Juvenile Justice and Delinquency Prevention, which was the key governmental agency for anybody interested in law enforcement and kids. The one who introduced us was Robbie Calloway. The made-for-TV movie Adam debuted on NBC on the night of October 10th, 1983.
I remember that.
So they still did do it on NBC. So it looks like NBC was overruled by that one guy.
They probably just went to somebody over his head.
Yeah, Grant Tinker. He's the one that made it happen. Okay. People who cover television never run out of bad things to write about, and never will. But it's gratifying that now and then there are some good things too. The Washington Post TV critic Tom Shales wrote in the next morning's paper. The prodigy said can only have come about because a substantial number of hearts were conspicuously in the right place. That night, the Florida Department of Law Enforcement organized the hotline, manning a bank of 50 phones in a state office building in Tallahassee. Marie and I were there, and so was the governor, Bob Graham. At the end of the show, a roll call of 55 missing children's names and pictures was played, and those faces reached 40 million TV screens around the country. The toll-free number appeared for 10 seconds, and the calls started flooding in. For 3 days, over 100 calls per hour came into that number. Of the 55 missing children whose faces were shown, 13 were located and reunited with their families.
Whoa.
See, that's why I liked him. That's
Yeah,
why.
well, that's why I did too.
Yeah,
You know,
because we
and
all thought he was good.
I mean, he really went after him, and I would get so excited. I'd love to hear what he called him. Like, he'd go, that filthy, low down, rotten scoundrel.
Yeah.
I mean, it was like, we would just like laugh, you know, at how, because we looked at him as, you know, that's the hero. You know, he goes after the kid, get the kids back. I mean, that's why I feel so betrayed now seeing the other side, you know?
Yeah. Yep.
It makes you feel like you've been duped or something.
It does, because from a tragedy, it felt like something good came of it. Like, yeah, something did.
And I still think it did.
Yeah, me too.
Even, I mean, two things can be true. He could be a jackass,
yeah.
but also things did come of it, you know, that
Yeah.
did help parents where before there was nothing.
Yeah, I agree.
So, you know.
Adam, which became one of the highest rated made for television movies ever and was also one of the first examples of interactive TV, was later rebroadcasted twice, and each time more children were recovered. In 1986, a second movie, Adam, His Song Continues, was aired, followed by another roll call. Did you see the second movie? I didn't.
I don't remember the second one. I just remember the very first one.
I'm going to write that down so I want to check it out, because I do want to watch the movie Adam with you guys on a live. I don't think I can monetize it though, but it's fine. I want us to see it.
Oh, I'll hope it's on YouTube or something.
Well, his Adam is on YouTube, so I'm assuming
The first one, the
yeah,
original, or
the original one is. So I'm assuming
Yeah.
this one will be too. I'll check it out to make sure it's like all right to watch, but yeah. In all, 65 children were located as a result of the broadcast of these two movies. Good.
yeah.
That was the most rewarding thing for us, even if there were a few bad moments. The night of that first airing, Reve and I went to Tallahassee to help staff the hotline. A call came in from a young, frightened-sounding girl who said that she was one of the missing whose pictures we had shown. Reve was really worried, and she spent more than an hour on the phone with the girl, trying to calm her down and see what we could do to bring her home. But as it turned out, the girl wasn't really missing. She'd been trying to pull off some kind of hoax. So much of what we have done have been encouraging the Missing Children Act and the Center, which was starting all kinds of things relating to the children's issues. Pilot programs to fingerprint school children as a form of ID, running educational programs in the schools, starting something called the Cracked Gavel Award, which Denny Abbott gave to judges who had handed down light or suspended sentences to child molesters. The form of ID, taking children's fingerprints, I don't know why they're not doing that anymore.
Well, yeah, I remember that with my older kids, like the ones that are kind of your age.
Yes, I have one for me and my sister. I saw it because
It was
I
like
thought
a
it
little
was.
ID.
Oh, there was a whole missing report thing. I thought that I was actually thought that I was stolen. I'm serious.
Oh no.
My hair was cut off. They had my hair, they had my fingerprints, they had my eye color, everything.
Yeah,
And
I
it-
remember. Yeah, we did that
was
with
like
my
on
kids.
It's right now. It's like it's in an envelope. It's on off white paper, and I remember red writing all over it. And there's my fingerprints and everything. My sister and I both have one. I'm like,
Well,
are we kidnapped? Like, what does this mean?
Well, think about this. And Megan actually came. I don't know if you saw it, but came out about this on Twitter. And then but it was talking about, I mean, I thought this a long time ago myself, so when she said it, I was like, heck yeah. But think about the very people that we have to worry about with our children being in charge of a registry that
Mm-hmm.
tells them, okay, it has a picture what the kid looks like, their address, their age, their height, their weight. You know what I'm
Yeah.
saying? Everything they would need if somebody orders a specific type of child, for
Mm-hmm.
instance. It's a whole database that not everybody that works there, but I'm just going to say there are some people, obviously,
Yeah.
according to her, that work there that are not on the up and up. And
Exactly.
that is scary to me that they have access to that kind of information. It's a
Yeah.
lot of information, on a child.
It is. But even those things couldn't change. When it happened to Adam, as far as Reve was concerned, there was still an unfinished piece of business on that score that she wanted settled. She had never let go of the memory of that young Sears security guard who had come up to her in the store that day, and of the idea that no matter how well intentioned it was, she was the one who had put Adam out of the store without trying to get Reve's permission or even letting her know about it. We never knew if she had been told to keep quiet about it or not. We never knew anything. The only thing we were sure of was that no one had ever apologized for it or even really acknowledged it. And in Reve's mind, that was unacceptable. On July 22nd, 1983, just before 2 years statute of limitations ran out, we filed the lawsuit again, asking for an unspecified sum in damages from Sears and the Hollywood Mall for the negligence in contributing to Adam's death. We weren't trying to get the money for ourselves, and it was the center was getting some funding from the government, but each year we had to go back and ask for that budget money to be granted again. We knew that the funding could dry up suddenly at any time, so the whole idea was to use the lawsuit award to keep sure that the center would be able to keep on running, and also to finance the push for more legislation on children's issues in other states and also at the federal level. But things never got that far. Sears and the Hollywood Mall hired two lawyers, Rex Conrad and Richard Gordon. One of the first things they did was to depose Jimmy Campbell in great detail about his relationship with Reve. Oh, shit. They also interrogated Reve and my mother, who by the time they got done with her was in tears. They saved me for last. Finally, when I went in to be questioned, they started asking me about everything that had happened the day Adam was abducted. I made it as difficult for them as I could. If they asked what I did when I got into the parking lot, I told them I parked my car. If they asked what I did next, I said that I had turned off the ignition. Finally, one of
Yeah,
them looked at me and said, "You know, you're a real wise ass." And I said, "And you know, you are what you are? You're a mercenary bastards."
isn't that weird? Why would he want to make it hard on them? Like if
I
they're
don't.
trying to look for his kid.
Yeah.
Do you think that's weird?
Oh, very much so.
I don't know. That just alarmed me right whenever you said that. I was thinking that's weird.
It is. Um, Worse than that, your chicken shits. My wife and I are trying to get a second missing children's bill passed, and we're trying to fund the Adam Walsh Center so that it can survive for a long time. This isn't about money for us; it's about accountability. But yeah, he just said he wants the money for
Hmm.
the center.
Foundation.
Yeah.
Yeah.
At that point, Gordon told the legal stenographer to quit taking notes. Then Rex Conrad looked right at me and said, "I don't care about your legislation. I don't care about your center." He didn't even care that my son had been decapitated. He said that we were in this for the money and that it was his job to destroy us. Wow.
That's rough.
That was it for me. Something snapped and I started screaming, "I'll beat the hell out of you, you coward." Of course.
I can see that kind of in my head. In his tight white pants.
At that point, both Conrad and my lawyer, Sam Holland, who was just as outraged as I was, said that it was time to end the deposition. What you think?
Mhm.
By this time, the media were having a field day with the case. They sent people to the courthouse every day to check the case file for developments and to find out where and when depositions would take place. They also sent camera crews to the place where Jimmy Campbell was being deposed, and that was how the story about Reve and Jimmy got out. During Reve's deposition, the lawyers had asked her, "Well, were you wearing that? What were you wearing that day, Miss Walsh?" By then, everybody already knew. It was there in the record. A pair of gym shorts and a leotard, she answered. A pair of gym shorts and a leotard. she told them, that she was wearing it because she had been on the way to the gym, but they didn't care about the context. She was my wife, and they made her out to be some kind of terrible sleaze.
I mean, if the leotard fits.
Hey, Flamingo. By that point, Rebay didn't care about what happened to her personally. She really didn't care anymore, but I was not willing to see her dragged through the mud. I could not stand by and allow that to happen. We also both knew that the publicity would do to the center and to all the people who were fighting with us. We might never get another piece of legislation passed, and the center might get destroyed. Our personal reputation was one thing, but we did not believe that we had a right to sacrifice anything beyond it. So in the end, they broke us. We folded on November 21st, 1983. 1 week after what would have been Adam's 9th birthday, we decided to drop the suit. Of course, the press had another field day. More suspicion, more innuendo. The hint that Reve had somehow been responsible for her son's death. Whenever things got really bad, Reve remembered the day that she found out that Adam was dead. No matter what anybody did to her now, she would never be that low again. After the day that Adam was abducted, she never went into another Sears store again. Not once, not ever. Reve had already knew about the softer side of Sears. But August of 1983, the second anniversary of Adam's death, I had testified a half dozen times to various congressional committees, had been to the White House and on Donahue and Merv Griffin and Good Morning America. We had accomplished some things, but we were a long way from finished. There was so much more that still had to be done. I came into this unaware of what was going on in this country. The random killings, the missing children, the helpless and powerless feelings of parents when their children is missing. I told the reporter at the time, I've heard so many stories and talked with so many parents who are looking for their children. The Missing Children Act is only the tip of the iceberg. It doesn't protect children. It only makes it easier to identify bodies. It's only the beginning. I had been going full speed nonstop for 2 years since Adam's death, traveling constantly, going to different states, speaking in legislators, lobbying in Washington. I knew that it was time to slow down. The doors told me that I was pushing myself beyond what my body could handle. After the movie came out, I realized that I would have to try and take it easy for a while, start living a normal life again, and spend more time at home with Reve and Megan. You think he would never leave them again?
Right. I mean, like, I would have them glued to my side.
Yeah.
If my first child went missing like that. Like,
yeah.
It just seems a natural reaction.
Wow. It was hard to pretend that life could ever be normal again. There were too many reminders, too much that could not be forgotten. And if there did happen to be a stretch of time, a few days, maybe when I was not completely consumed with the memory of Adam, then there would always be something that yanked me back to the horror of what had happened to him. Something like the phone calls every now and then from Jack Hoffman of the Hollywood Police, telling me about some possible lead or tip in Adam's case. Some piece of information that would always eventually turn into another dead end. For one newspaper story in 1983, pegged to the second anniversary of Adam's murder, a reporter asked me if I thought that Adam's killer would ever be found. I said that I believed it was possible, but that if it did ever happen, it would only be by a fluke. Ooh.
Mm-hmm. Ooh. Is that kind of how it happened?
Yeah, that's weird.
With that Otis tool, whatever, and there's still so much surrounding that. It's weird.
Yeah. That was right about the time that police up in Duval County, a 5-hour drive north of Hollywood, started questioning an internet drifter about a fatal rooming house arson in Jacksonville. The drifter was being pretty forthright about his involvement in the case, and pretty forthcoming about something else too. He wanted to talk to the cops, he said, about some trouble that he had gotten into a couple years back down in Broward County. Some trouble, he said, that involved a little boy. Now we're on chapter 11. It's probably wrong. Yeah, it's wrong.
You know, the John F. Kennedy thing, about like the way he was shot and who really shot him and all that stuff.
Yeah.
It just kind of makes me think, like, I swear, like, I know it sounds like I'm a conspiracy theorist. It's not that. I believe in conspiracies. Like, they're not theories in my head. Like, I'm not saying everything is, but some things are so obvious that it's like something is not adding up. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
And, like, I'm not saying it's like everything, but I am saying that sometimes it is. Like, if too many things are red flags, you do have to question it.
I agree.
And that Otis Toole was known for giving false.
Like false reports. Yeah, he was a big
Yeah,
liar.
he wasn't all the way there either. You know.
No. I'm just going to read a couple pages into this. Also, I'll go until 8:30 and then I'll stop. All right. Chapter 11. This one's called Law Enforcement. In the investigation of Adam's case, in the year or so after his death, the police had questioned a lot of potential suspects, including at least 2 well-known pedophiles. One of these guys had RAPED and bludgeoned a 6-year-old boy. Trigger warning. And left him to die near some railroad tracks in a remote area of Florida. When police checked the guy's house, they found a diary that had details on the RAPE and possible murders of 25 victims in 2 states, mostly young boys.
What? I never heard of that. Did you?
No.
I need to look into that.
I don't know who this is. So that was it was just one suspect. The second subject was a twice convicted child molester out on parole. When police searched his room, they found a collection of newspaper articles about Adam and written descriptions of 45 children that this guy had molested in 4 states. In the storage space, the cops found 6 sets of boys' clothing, sadomasochistic pornography and paraphernalia, and detailed letters to other child molesters. They also found a collection of audio cassette tapes. The cops asked me to come down to the station. They said that I had to listen to the tapes to see if Adam's voice was on any of them. Oh my!
Oh man! Oh God!
So
no way!
Like, yeah.
How could anybody sit and listen to all that? Even think about how that would mess with your head.
Yeah, it'll mess with my head now just reading it.
Man.
So I went over, and for what seemed like forever, I had to sit there and listen to. Oh my God! I had to listen to screams and cries and pleadings of little boys when they were being tortured at RAPED. Oh my fucking God! I can't. Oh.
I mean, there's no way. How could he do? I couldn't. I'd have to get up and walk out. No way.
That's a lot. I'm sorry, guys. That's a lot. Adam's voice was not on any of the tapes. When it was finally over, I looked up, and 6 tough, hardened homicide detectives in the room all had tears in their eyes. I excused myself, went into the men's room to throw up. By now, I was pretty much ruined financially. I was still trying to hold up my end of Paradise Grand Partnership, still going to work at my office at the Harbor House, but I was overwhelmed with grief. At work, I would go into the bathroom and throw up and come back to my desk and pretend that nothing had happened. I sat there with the door closed for hours, telling my secretary to hold all my phone calls, pretending that I was going over projections and numbers. Instead, I would cry. I was having terrible fits of sadness and sorrow about Adam, constant thoughts about him and what was happening to him, what had happened to him. The little desk we had set up for him was still there in my office with all of his things, pictures, drawings, little shells he had given me, the lucky sea beans that we had found together during our walks on the beach. All of those things everywhere. I was so torn. I'd been obsessed with getting the Missing Children Act passed and with doing something about how the FBI had refused to help search for Adam. All during that time, I've been traveling back and forth between Florida and Washington at my own expense. Whenever things really went down to the wire on the Hill, whenever my presence was absolutely necessary, Jay or Robbie would call to say, "We've taken things as far as we can, but now you've got to come up and close the sale." Besides Ray Millette, there were 2 other partners in the Paradise Grand Marketing Company, one in Texas and the other over on Island itself. They were being very accommodating about my situation. I was using the Xerox machine and the phones incessantly and the other partners were being very generous about it. But after a while, they went to Ray and said, "The hotel is behind schedule. We're over budget. Everything got thrown off track with Adam's murder and the search. We're paying John's salary, and every time we call over there to the sales office, he's gone somewhere or on the phone with someone else, another parent of a missing child. People are coming to see him. Cops are talking to him. He's in the newspaper. He's flying here to go on this talk show, flying there to talk to that legislator. The hotel is over budget. It's not going to open on time, and he's not focused. We love him. We care for him, but he's not focused on the work." How could I be? I was frail and haggard and had lost 30 pounds. I couldn't even handle the normal everyday tasks of life, let alone a staff that was sitting there waiting for me to tell them what to do. Ray was my defender. He'd say, "Come on, he's doing his job, he's doing his best, give him some time. Have some decency." His son was murdered, but my partners wanted, quite rightly, to know if I was going to be a child advocate or a partner in a hotel management company. The trouble was, at the time, I didn't know myself. In Washington, I was learning a lot about the backroom workings of the politics, how things really operate behind closed doors and out of sight. The things we were trying to do weren't limited only to politics. It began to seem as if a whole lot of things having to do with missing children were interrelated. So from other people, I was learning about a lot of other things too. From Ronald Wright, the Broward medical examiner, I learned that there were 10,000 unidentified bodies a year throughout the country, and that if anyone wanted to try to identify one of them, he had to send the corpse fingerprints to the FBI lab, which had a 3-month backup. And if the dead person had no criminal history and had never been fingerprinted in any arrest, then chances of identifying him or her were next to nothing anyway. From police agencies around the country, I learned that the FBI's famous NCIC computer was so overloaded with burglaries and car thefts that it was virtually impossible for local police to try to use it to find missing persons. Even if the technology existed to keep a list of missing children or unidentified dead small town cops weren't necessarily looking for that kind of data or entertaining it themselves. I also learned a lot about pedos, about how they have even formed a group that called itself NAMBLA, the North American Man Boy Love Association.
Yeah.
Mother.
That's what I was telling you, that Megan said he already had some kind of ties with that back before any of this ever happened with Adam. Like, not sure in what fashion, but that's odd to me. They were like she said, threatening him with things. So I just don't know what kind of things.
Yeah. These guys advocated the sexual molestation of young boys by adult males and were proud of it. I knew how sick these guys were. Someone had shown me a letter written to a convicted child pornographer in Pennsylvania from another collector. One never can predict if or when the child will squeal to the teacher or buzz, it read. That's one reason you see so many kids who had to be blown away after being molested. Holy fuck. They couldn't be trusted to keep quiet.
There's an actual website and everything with that. That's an actual thing. It's like an association. They have a CO13 and everything. It's like sick.
Wow. At the Louisville Conference on Missing Children back in 1981, a guy come up to me one afternoon, short, kind of scrubby looking. What I remembered most about him was how bad he smelled. He kept asking me all about the Missing Children Act, not about what it would do to help missing and abducted children, but more about what kind of penalties it would carry, that sort of thing. I remember having a really weird feeling about this guy. He was wearing a name tag and everything, but something about him wasn't right. The next day at the conference, Jay came up to me and said, "Geez, John, have you heard? The cops are all over the place. Some guy who was registered here is a known pedophile with a warrant or something against him, and the cops came in and took him away." It was the same guy who had approached me. He had infiltrated the conference. So I knew what these guys were all about. Later on, just to show how upstanding they were, someone ran an obscene love poem to Adam in a pedophile's newsletter. Something about how much they liked the sweet little gap in his teeth. It was well and good that the Missing Children Act was now the law of land, but that wasn't the end of things. Our next goal was to set up a national center where parents of missing and abducted children could go for help so that no one would have to go through what we had gone through without help from a centralized government agency. It was like what Reve had said. We still needed that skyscraper in Washington. That was how we arrived at step 2 in the overall game plan. A second proposed federal law, which came to be known as the Missing Children Assistance Act. After those first hearings on the Missing Children's Bill, Jay Howell, Paula Hawkins' subcommittee, and kept on investigating all kinds of things related to child abuse and missing kids. As Reve had said that first time that we met Julie Patz and Kristen Cole Brown, the story of what happened to Adam had opened up a Pandora's box. For starters, Paula Hawkins' subcommittee had found dozens of cases of little kids who had been stranger abducted, kidnapped under circumstances that looked like foul play. Yet when they started calling the FBI field offices around the country to see how the cases were being handled, they found out that the borough wasn't doing anything. It wasn't involved. That was news because, according to the Federal Kidnapping Act, if a missing person had not turned up in 24 hours, then it was assumed that they had been taken across state lines, which was when the FBI would get involved. Yet, in case after case, the FBI was obviously just plain foot dragging, and now, for the first time, there was documented evidence of it. Wow, I'm going to stop there. That was a lot.
That is a lot, especially that Nambla talking about that.
Shit.
And also what John Walsh had to. I mean, if that, like if that's true or whatever, and he had to sit and listen to all that, like how could you go through that and not have to have psychiatric care after that? Like oh my god.
I would hear. I know I'd say if you'd have to sit there and listen to it to see if your children was on there.
Yeah.
But I would be like, okay, you need to. I don't know. I don't even know. Like, I would want to, just because what if it was my child? But then again, what if it wasn't? What's the point of me listening to this? He's already dead, right?
Well, and then not only that, what if it was?
Yeah, then it'd be like,
that would even be worse, because you would never get that out of your head, knowing. No. You know what I'm saying? I mean, you would hear it. I mean, to me, that would be, that seemed like a bad idea.
I agree, because not only that, like, hearing
he was supposedly already found by this time. So
yes,
what good would it do?
That's what I mean. Why would you even fucking listen to that?
Unless you're into that.
Child. Why?
I'm not even saying that's true or anything. I'm not making any accusations. I'm just saying, personally, if my child had been found, I would say, I'm not sitting in there listening to that, and you can't make me.
What I would do is say, here, you fucking idiots, listen to it. I'll give you, I know they've got home videos of Adam.
Exactly.
Here's the voice, you guys listen. I don't need to be listening to that shit. And they should know better than to ask him that.
A civilian. If he's a civilian.
Yes.
If he is, I'm saying, who knows? People that are in the CIA, a lot of times, you don't know they're in the CIA. I mean, that's why it's called, like the Central Intelligence Agency, but so many people are like Secret Service people, not just for the president, but they just do spy work and things like that. You know what I'm saying? So you don't ever know like who could be in the CIA. You just don't know.
Exactly.
And it seems like he had an awful lot of hookups for just some random man down in Florida. You know what I'm saying? Like it just seems so over dramatic, almost like sensationalized.
I could never listen to something like that.
No way. I mean, now listen, I'll say this. If I thought my child was still alive and I thought they could be somewhere held with somebody doing something like that, and if I could identify my child's voice, or something that would bust them and my child could be rescued, absolutely. I don't care how bad it would, I would do it. Yeah. But not if my child had already been found.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? I would go to hell if it was a chance to rescue my kid.
Yeah. So would I, but the fact that my child, his child was already found, I would have said that. Yes. Mm-hmm. Here's some home videos. You listen to his voice, recognize it, understand it. You get yourself accustomed to his voice and you listen to it. That's your job, not mine. Because I'd be dead.
Yeah, there's no way. You'd never sleep again, just like I wouldn't either. I mean, like 10 ambient a night probably would knock me out.
Yeah. Yeah, like you'd have to. It's
kind of like Jodie Foster's Silence of the Lamb or something. How she heard the lambs crying and she couldn't sleep because the little lambs would cry. Like that is what it reminded me of when you were reading that. I was like, ugh.
Mm-hmm. No, I couldn't listen.
I mean, and I know there are sick people out there like Jeffrey Dahmer, and weird people like, what's his name? John Wayne Gacy.
Yes.
There are some sick F's out there. There are, and we don't know for sure. You were just speculating when we say we don't know if that's Adam or not by that picture, but they didn't do any DNA or anything like that, back then. And So I'm just saying, like, for it's possible that that happened, that some sicko, you know, grabbed him. But then again, it's possible because there have been kids like JC Dugard, remember her?
Yes, she was
And that,
found too.
yes, after a long time, she'd have children with that man.
Same with the daughter.
Yeah, that
That
they
was
had
in
a
the
lot of
basement.
money. What was
Mhm.
her name?
Oh, I can't
Oh, one of y'all know, don't you? The girl, and she was taken by a man and his wife, and he was like some weird religious freaky guy, like, and he thought he was like Moses or something. He had like a really long
Kristen
beard.
Smart.
Oh, it's something.
Was it Kristen Smart?
Yeah, Elizabeth Smart.
Elizabeth, not
Yeah,
Kristen.
you got the smart part. that's that's the only way I remember, just because you said that, and it triggered my memory. But yeah, she came back like that after a really long time, and I'm sure her parents and the other parents, they gave
Hmm.
up, but thank God they had a better, ending. Even though you got to think about it, like, gosh, it's almost like would I want my kid to have to go service 50 men a day,
Yeah,
in that situation, or would I rather them be in heaven? You know what I'm saying? I mean, if you have faith, I guess, you know what I'm saying? Like, it would be, I will say that I don't know, it would depend on how long, I guess. I
yeah,
would not want my child to be locked in some room somewhere servicing men all day long for the rest of their life. No, I would rather them rest in peace. You know what I'm saying? I'm sorry. Like, that sounds so cold hearted, I know, but I just couldn't imagine my child having to go through what those kids on that tape are going through every day
no,
of their life.
no fucking way. No way. That's something I can't handle. And then it's like,
And that's why nobody does anything, because it's so hard to believe. It's so, when you're not abnormal like that, you know what I'm saying? It
yeah,
is so hard to like rationalize in your head. There's no way somebody could do something like that to a kid. There's no way. Like,
yeah, because
how?
it's just not. We can't comprehend it because we aren't like that
Thank
at all.
God. Thank God we can't.
Yeah. I hate reading about this stuff. I hate hearing about this stuff. But the thing is, it's like you got to do it. You have to. We have to. All of us have to stop it. The more you ignore it because you can't handle it, it's not a good enough excuse. You know what I mean?
Yeah, I mean, we could turn our head, stick our head in the sand like a flamingo, and pretend like it's not going on. But meanwhile, those little children are crying, and
Yeah, I
nobody's
can't.
even listening. Yeah,
I could never do that.
and that's why lately I've just felt such a pull. Just after we've started looking back into this, and I've always kind of looked back on like the little John Benet Ramsey, because I guess I was in beauty pageants and stuff. And like,
Yeah.
you really never had any or heard anything like that,
No.
happening like that during things like that. I never did anyway, because it was usually just moms and daughters, honestly.
Yeah.
Um, but like, you never know who wanders in there and watches. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Like, anybody could come in there and pay the entry fee just to walk in and sit and watch.
Yep.
So, like, even baseball for little boys, some
Yeah.
weirdo just comes up and sits. And what we think is nothing, you know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Like, they're looking at something totally different.
I'm
And,
very observant. I watch people.
oh, me
It's
too.
yeah. I don't know. It's just something I've always done. So I don't know because I can feel things. So I know
I
like
have,
what
like, I swear
what
I have, like,
want.
some kind of weird,
Yeah.
well, it is a sense, because, like, we went to the lake with my kids when they were like 6, 7, that age of prepubescent age. And
Yeah.
so I had, them and my daughter, and we went to the state. You know how you have like it was the electric company owns like a lake, basically. That's the dam for the fuel of the lake. So they have, you can pay $3 and go there in the summer, and it's got like a beach you can lay out, and the kids can play. And it's
Yeah.
roped off, so it's, safe, and there's bathrooms and picnic tables and whatnot. Anyway, we were there one day, and I'm not even kidding. We walked up, and there was this man in the water. And
Yeah.
immediately I looked at him and I told all my kids, I said, do not go next to that man. If that man comes close to you, move away. And if you go to the bathroom, come tell me. Do not go to the bathroom alone. And sure enough, they asked Stacey they had to go to the bathroom. So I get up, make my daughter get out and we all walk up there, and I stand outside. I mean, not even 2 minutes goes by. That pervert comes coming up in there to the bathroom, and I
Yeah.
yell in there. I'm like, "Hey, y'all get, y'all come on, because it was a boys' bathroom." And they came running out of there, and another kid, the man pulled his thing out and started you doing you know what in
Oh
front
my
of the kids. So we went to the person that's in charge, like the police officer that's there on duty. So we went and told him, and he was still in the bathroom. So they had the county come, and they surrounded the bathroom and went there and got him and took him off. They had him arrested.
Good.
But like I spotted him. I mean, we did not even put our stuff down on the sand.
Wow.
Like, and I'm just, I don't know what it is. It's just like they reek of something, and I don't know what it is.
You have good instincts, I think. And like you said, you're like me, like we watch people. It's not like creepy stalkerish. It's just I
Yeah,
observe
no.
the surroundings, I observe the people in it, and I pay attention to things. I
Right.
always have been that way. And so it's like when I see the person that I was in the same room with, like 10 years later, I still recognize their face. It's weird.
Yeah. And kids that have things happen to them do have a hypervigilant sense anyway.
Yeah, I have to.
Yeah, it's kind of like a fight or a flight sense when you feel there's danger around. Like,
Yes, and
Mhm.
it's scary because yeah, I agree.
But that makes to me, I personally, it made me a better mother, I think.
Me
And
too.
it sounds like in your case it did too, because it's like you don't just assume everybody's okay. Now, I don't think everybody's bad, but I know there's bad out there, and to watch. You know what I'm saying? Not be ridiculous for my kids like in a bubble or anything, but watch enough that you pay attention. Because see, they look for kids that are like neglected and stuff. That's what they look for.
Oh yeah. And those poor kids feel like, okay, they're paying attention.
Somebody's paying attention to me, yeah.
Yeah, and they'll go, and that sucks.
Because there's a guy that lived in some apartments we lived in before we bought our house, and I'll just say his name's Bobby, okay? So Bobby was always at the pool, every single day. And so my daughter at the time, she was like really little. She was like 9, something like that. So he goes and grabs her underwater, like tries to grab her like leg, like at the ham level, up by her thigh.
Yeah.
And I already had my eye on him, if you know what I mean. And so, and she came out and told me what happened. Well, or no, her daddy was down there, and it happened. I was at the house, so she came home and told me what happened. So the next day, we're out at the pool. Here comes Bobby, someone down there half drunk, and I am like, "Let me tell you something, buddy. I see you coming from a mile away. You might have these other parents fooled, but I see you. My child gets plenty of attention. Lay another hand on her, and I will beat your ass right here in front of everybody." I said, "You can touch whoever you want to, if you and their parent, whatever goes on, but I swear to you, I will kill you if you touch my child again." And I'm not kidding. And he made this big scene and was talking crap about me down at the pool. But the guy ended up making me pool monitor. Like, yeah, Bobby, get the hell out of here.
Yeah.
But like he really did. He went to the kids who were down there without their parents a lot, who would run kind of free.
Yeah.
And it's like their parents would trust them. And I even went to the parents. That's why I said, I was like, "Y'all notice anything weird about Bobby?" And they were yeah, he watches. Like he's always been so nice to us when we hadn't had a babysitter.
Oh yeah.
He'll offer, and I'm like, "Oh yeah, I bet he will."
Yeah.
Bobby is a weird F-U-C-K, and like, and then his son ended up coming there and beating him like nearly to death.
Holy
and I had to save Bobby from drowning.
Wow.
That was hard.
Yeah.
Because like I thought he deserved to drown.
Yeah.
You
didn't want that on your conscience.
But I couldn't watch it because he was so drunk, and his son had just come there and beat him up because of something with his granddaughter that had come up after all this stuff. Yeah, and it's just like, what? You kidding me? And why do I have to save his life? This is the second pedophile I've had to save, and I knew it. I'm like, God, you're really pushing it with me. Like, I love you. I really do, but like, how much more can you expect of me? Like, I can't do a third one. I'm just going to be honest. I can't.
Yeah.
I'm going to walk away.
I hear you.
And like I look at, if you move somewhere, like you can pull up. I don't know if you have that in Canada, but you can pull up if you have any sex offenders that live close
Nope,
to
we're
you.
not allowed access to that whatsoever.
What?
Yep, we're not allowed to
Oh,
know at all. We're not even allowed to pull up court records like Miss KJ does. Yeah, that's why I was
no
freaking out.
way.
We're not allowed to do
Oh,
any.
girl. Oh, listen, you can text me your address. It won't go nowhere further from me. I'll look for you.
I
Oh
don't think
no,
you
it would be
can
in
though.
Canada. That's right, it wouldn't because it'd be in Canada. What am I
Yeah,
thinking? I was just thinking it's like the United States. It's just you don't have access to it, but it wouldn't work. That sucks.
no.
They really need to keep a record of that because,
Well, they
like,
protect the pedophiles. They don't want them getting beaten up. They don't want us to know where they
oh well,
are.
they need to be beat up.
Yeah, for that, and I want to know where the hell they are because there's a
Well,
park
I'm not.
that
I'm
my
not
kid
going to beat
goes
them
to.
up, but I want to know where the hell they are because I want to keep my eye on them if they're anywhere around me.
Oh, I want to know who they are when I find out who they are, and when I see them out, I'll be going and having a discussion with them and tell them I fucking catch you looking.
Yeah.
One
Oh
look,
yeah.
I'll kill you.
Oh yeah. We've lived beside plenty of them that I've looked up. I always find out because I look up,
Yeah.
But now the guy, damn, I didn't know he was just some random dude. But like we lived at a house, the one that I told you was haunted that we lived in like the 18th. We didn't
Yeah.
live there. It was built in the 1800s. The
Mhm.
people we had, they're built with an alley in the back. They're mill houses, so they have an alley you can drive in the back and pull in. You know what I mean?
Yeah, I
Like
think so. Yeah.
yeah, they're cool little houses. But anyway, so the people on the alley on the back side, because my daughter used to live in the house beside them, just behind the alley where we live. So, she told me she was like, "Mom, the guy next door is on the list, on the predator list."
Oh,
And my grandson lived there, and I was like, well, "Make sure you don't ever let him go outside without you right there on him." So we ended up
yes.
moving in the house, by them right there. The house that I told you about that was haunted as crap.
Yeah.
But the man back there, like she kept talking to Jaden. Like Jaden would go outside and jump on the trampoline, and they
Yeah.
would be like, and the woman that lived with him, who lets her little granddaughter, that's like 7 years old, go over there all the time and hang out, and she knows he's on that list, the woman that lives with him,
Oh
and
my God.
yeah, she comes up in my house, knocking on the door, and just walks in, going, "If you ever need a babysitter, you can just let me know." And I was like, "I
Hell
would
no.
never." I
No.
said, I was like, "I wouldn't let you watch my cat. Like, seriously, get the hell out of my house. Like, I don't play that shit.
No.
Like, why would you have your granddaughter around him?"
Yeah, that's disgusting.
That kind of stuff just like infuriates me. Ugh.
Yeah, me too. I don't like that.
And women are supposed to protect children.
Yes, they are.
It almost makes me madder at like the Ghislaine Maxwell than it does to Jeffrey Epstein. I'm like, he's a pig. You know what I'm
Yeah.
saying? But you're a woman, and this was probably done to you, and you would do this to another child.
Oh yeah.
You deserve a rotten hell. I'm sorry.
I agree. It's worse than Epstein, absolutely.
I just feel like women, you know what I'm saying, should be more, I don't know, have more of a protective nature about them, I guess. And
Yeah.
maybe I'm wrong for that, but
No, not at all. We're nurturers. At least we're
Right.
supposed to be. So
We're
the people
supposed to
women
be.
that aren't, that's really scary to me.
it is.
Yeah. Oh, I should get off here though. I promised my kid that we'd go get a donut.
We live right, do y'all have a Krispy Kreme?
I wish. Not anywhere near me.
Krispy Kreme is it like, I mean, I'm like, God, you're really trying me. Seriously, in walking distance of my house. I've done really good, but I mean, the hot glaze sign, when it comes on, you can smell it.
Oh, well, I was thinking like we haven't had a donut or anything like that in a very long time. So I was like, I don't know, just go get one for a snack.
Yeah, that'd be good. Go to Dunkin'. Do y'all have a Dunkin' Donut? What do y'all have?
Just Tim Hortons, where I live.
Oh, I've never even heard of that. Wow. Well, I wish I could send you some like Krispy Kremes in the mail.
Oh, that'd be amazing. I love Krispy Kremes. I had it
I'll
once.
send you some.
Yay!
I'll send you some.
By the time you see me next, you'll have me so fattened up.
Well, if I get them when they're hot, still the hot glaze, they're so fresh. It wouldn't take
Yeah.
but a day or so to get there.
Yeah, that's
Yeah.
true.
Okay, well, send me your post office box in the Twitter on my private message, and I'll send you some.
Oh my God, thank you.
For real, yeah.
I sit there, I can from my son and be like, no.
Your son will be like, "Don't touch those, mother." And
Yeah.
you have to put them in the microwave for like about like 5 seconds, and they go right back to just like being fresh
Oh,
off the press.
nice.
Yeah.
Lovely. I haven't had one in years. I don't even know how I got one. To be honest, I remember having one. I think I was really little when I got one. Yeah.
They like make them right there, like they have the glass. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Where they make them right there, and on the conveyor belt, you can watch them like drop and the glaze going on them, and you can get them right off the conveyor belt, right in the eat them in your hand.
Wow. Yeah. I remember having one. I think it was just like the honey glazed or something. It was just the normal original one.
Normal ice glaze.
Oh.
Yeah.
They were really good.
Yeah. Cool. I'll send you some for sure. They're right down the road.
Awesome.
That'll give me an excuse to
watch
go.
like the UPS guy or something. Yeah.
Well, I've got to do it, so I might as well just get 2 dozen. Send her one.
You have to send me that many. Oh my God.
It'll be cheaper if I do it that way.
So, okay then.
All right. Well, y'all have a good night, and I
Yeah.
enjoyed it. And bye, everybody.
Yeah, thanks for coming.
I said, Stella, my exact physical address is ... I'll take some money and I'll disperse them out.
Yeah, there you go. Everybody give your address. We'll get a donut next week, one each.
Yeah, I'll send one to everybody.
Oh my God.
All right, y'all. Have a good night.
You too. Thanks for coming.
Okay.
Bye.
Bye. How do I get off? Can you knock me off?
Yep. All right, you guys. You have a great night. I'm going to go to Tim Hortons to get a donut. What's tomorrow? Tuesday, I'll be back with Bryson's Lab. We got, I don't know, we're doing something to do with ghosts anyways, but yeah, 7 o'clock tomorrow. I'll be back. All right, you have a good night. Bye.